Hello, this is Graham, and this is the second short video exploring transpersonal psychotherapy for Level 4 Therapeutic Counselling students. In Part 1, I introduced this definition from Francis Vaughan, one of the pioneers of the modern era of transpersonal psychology. I explained that attaining such a state, where your sense of identity is no longer just you, but instead you feel part of something much bigger, is often referred to as a spiritual, rather than religious, experience, and that people also describe this as being a moment when they felt in touch with nature, awed by the scale of the universe, or having an overwhelming sense of peace. In this video, we're going to explore the link between the spiritual journey and psychotherapy in a little more detail. Most emotions can be experienced without needing someone else: anger, frustration, joy, and so on. However, a few depend on having another person for most of us to get in touch with them. The most obvious is love. Of course, some people do love themselves, and we consider them narcissists, and that's a very different story. In class, I introduced the idea of rhythms, and we considered that there are many rhythms involved in therapy: that of the therapist, of the client, of the many aspects of the world that they inhabit, and the harmonics between these rhythms. In your reflective journal, I suggested that you could include how you see self-actualization, congruence, and the transpersonal relating to one another. In this sense, the transpersonal is a way of deepening our experience of ourselves and our clients of themselves. It's about finding our own rhythm and helping our client to find theirs. In doing so, we explore what allows us to be in harmony with ourselves and our world, and what it is in the world that disturbs our harmony with it. You might consider congruence in this sense as being the harmony. And perhaps what we're doing with our clients is demonstrating a kind of love for them that they have never experienced before. All organized religions and most wider spiritual paths acknowledge a form of their practice known as mysticism. Mystics, through a variety of techniques, enter into a state of ecstasy or altered consciousness, from which they emerge with a very different perspective on life. They may interpret this using the context of an established faith, or in a less structured manner. While for a few the experience is a one-off, most find the means to enter this state more often. The popular interpretation of this is that they achieve a oneness with their chosen God. They no longer see this as something separate from them, but as a quality of themselves, and one that heals them emotionally. Once they've experienced this sense of integration, mystics frequently become a source of wisdom to those around them. Some therapeutic schools, particularly since the emergence of the humanist approach in the 1960s, have sought to find ways of replicating this process of entering an altered consciousness as part of the therapeutic process. We've spoken about Richard Alpert, otherwise known as Ram Dass, and Timothy Leary, and the Harvard Psilocybin project before. You might also look at the work of R.D. Laing, and perhaps even watch the film Mad to be Normal. Jalaluddin Rumi was originally from Afghanistan, but migrated to Konya in Turkey in the 1200s. He was a student of a widely respected Islamic scholar, Shams, and became his immediate successor. He dictated 6 volumes of poetry, addressing many of the challenges that we all experience in our lives. However, they were largely composed from the perspective of love. His poetry remains some of the best-selling in the West. Rumi's tomb became a place of pilgrimage, not only for Muslims, but Christians and Jews, and a monastic order grew up around it. The Mevlevi order, the order of the whirling dervishes, who are famous for their Sufi dance. Sufis emerged in the earliest stages of Islam, and they were ascetic, foregoing material things for a life of bare necessities. they practiced their faith in the community as educators and local spiritual and ethical guides. While they remained true to their Islamic origins, they promoted a view of the divine as something within us all and not an external, supernatural entity. Their spiritual practices, such as the dervish prayer, were intended to provide the means for people to purify themselves internally. You might see parallels between this and the humanistic concept of self-actualization.
Thank you for watching. Your feedback is always welcome, as are ideas for future courses, classes or videos.